You're listening to BYU-Idaho Radio. I'm Nathan Lenahan, and today I'm joined by Kirk and Gretchen Cheney, two BYU-Idaho alumni. First off, thank you guys so much for being here today.
Thanks for having us.
So first, could you just give us a bit of background information about yourselves?
Sure. I'm Kirk. I went to BYU-Idaho beginning in 2002 and graduated in 2006. While I was here, I took an interest in studying law, so I was a business management major with a finance emphasis. I did the IBC program, started a business here, did the whole business program, had a great experience, and started studying for the LSAT and ended up doing well on the LSAT and going to Yale Law School. And I think that's why we're talking today, maybe in part.
Okay, and I went here at the same time. Kirk and I met my second year here. And so I was we were married and together during the whole law school process. So I got to be kind of with him with all of that, studying for the LSAT and going to law school. So I was there in Connecticut, Yale Law with him. And then now we have 7 children. And I'm a stay-at-home mom. And I teach parenting classes and teach Pure Barre and like to run.
Yeah, nice. And so how is it being back on campus?
It's really fun. It's changed a lot. Obviously, everyone knows BYU-Idaho has undergone a ton of growth in the last decades. And you could feel it starting when we were here because they had made that switch from Ricks to BYU-Idaho and all the, everything that went with that. There was a lot of new stores and apartments and buildings going up even then, but the transformation that it's undergone is pretty incredible, and it's obvious that the vision that was had is being realized.
Yeah, I love it here. I love being back. I feel like there's a special spirit on campus, and I feel it every time I'm here. So I have lots of good memories, and I'm just impressed with everything that they're doing with the university, and I am really happy that I was a part of it.
Right. Yeah, I guess if you guys were here in the early 2000s, you would have seen the Rexburg Temple being built while you were here going to school. And well, now we have that other temple being built. You can see that out in the distance. I just think that's way cool.
Yeah, we were running around this morning just to get some exercise and running out where, there used to be fields. There still are fields. It's not too far to get to fields from campus still, but that temple was not there. I remembered running back that way when I was here, and there was no temple there. We drove to Idaho Falls on Saturday mornings, and we were marveling, like, how is it that this wasn't here for so long when there was a church school here? It's pretty great to have it there with so many students that want to go. And I echo what Gretchen said about the spirit here. We have the best, most positive impression of BYU-Idaho and love everything that it did for us and the kind of launch pad that it's given us for our lives.
Yeah, it really is a great place to be at. And, having been here, I can attest to that. And so, Kirk, what do you do now?
Yeah, so I went to law school after BYU-Idaho, like I said. Some people do take some years off between college and law school or graduate school in general, but I went straight there. We moved out to Connecticut, and we just got right into it. It's, kind of a whole different world that was really fun to get into and explore. I was always interested in the intersection of business and law. I had like I said, I studied business here. I think that, lawyers play an important role in many businesses, and it's an interesting way to have a seat at the table in a business to bring some kind of skill set, like law. And so I always kind of had a bent towards studying those classes in law school. In fact, I also took classes at the business school while I was out there. At Yale, they let you take one class from any other college every semester. So I'd go to the business school with the MBA students and take one of those classes every semester. And, we moved around a little bit after law school. I got a clerkship after law school in Delaware, which is where you work for a judge and kind of see how the sausage is made on the legal process. That was really great. My judge was incredible. And then we went to Texas just because that's a really thriving economy, and it was a great place to cut my teeth as a lawyer and understand how to – it's one thing to learn about the law in law school, but another thing to understand how it works in practice. And so I did that for a little while in Texas, and then we wanted to get back to a place. I really love to mountain bike. We love the outdoors, and Gretchen's from Boise, and so Boise was a really attractive place to go. We started visiting, and I just really wanted to see if we can make a good living and a good life there. And so we came back to Boise, and I worked for a law firm there. And then I eventually got recruited to be an in-house lawyer, which is when you're the company's employed lawyer. Instead of paying for outside firms that cost a lot of money, you can just employ the lawyer and have their expertise at hand at all times. And so I did that for a private tech company in Boise for a few years, and then I had the opportunity to move to the company that I'm at now, which is called the Pennant Group. It's a national provider of home health services and assisted living and independent living services. And I was intrigued because I was feeling kind of comfortable in the role I was in, but not growing a lot. And my law school dean gave a talk about how if you ever feel like you're not learning in your job, it's time to get a new job. And I really felt like, it was time for me to go push my boundaries a little more and learn new things and stretch myself. And so I took this role at Pennant 7 years ago as we were preparing to become a public company. And I helped us do that and do the spinoff / IPO initial public offering. So we offered our own stock to investors on the public markets. And then I've been the general counsel there since then. And it's a really exciting role that's really been perfect for me. I'm someone who loves to figure out how to make legal decisions in a way that benefit the company, that don't cause a lot of, lawyers are famous for causing red tape and slowing things down and being a hassle to everybody. And it's really fun and challenging to figure out how to be a solution and how to be a strategic partner and how to do things that make things flow better in a way that's legal and compliant. So it's a really fun job for me.
Yeah, it seems like you guys have done a lot, been all over the country and been a lot of interesting places. And so one thing I just want to ask, having going to law school after being here, what kind of adjustment was it? Because, of course, here at BYU-Idaho, pretty much everyone is a member, and being a church school, there's, like you said, there's that certain spirit there. Was it a hard adjustment to make to, I guess, leave the Rexburg bubble?
Yeah, in some ways. I didn't grow up in Utah or Idaho, so it wasn't like totally shocking to me, but there were definitely culture shock elements. Like some of the things that you think about Ivy League schools are true. Like, these kids are incredibly impressive. They have had a different life than you. Sometimes it feels like their whole life has led them to this. Like, they've gone to boarding schools and they've had the best, test prep and the best experiences to lead to this, and their parents are senators and stuff like that. I say that all in the best way. Like, it was really wonderful to be exposed to all of that, to make friends from all backgrounds and walks of life. I wish I had done better at it, honestly. I wish I had thrown myself more into that, because it is a cool experience. So there was some culture shock, just all the insecurities that anyone ever has when they try to do something new and risky. Like, am I good enough for this? Do I belong here? Am I smart enough? But I do think that, the promises that have been made to BYU-Idaho students, that like Elder Eyring's foundational talk from when the school was switched over, that you can stand out, that, I think it's called Steady Upward Course, if I remember it right. But basically, BYU-Idaho students will actually stand out as exceptionally high contributors and exceptionally strong members of companies and communities because of who they are. And so that has seemed to be true for me. I have felt like I've been blessed, and that the BYU-Idaho platform helped me prepare to do a lot of things that I've done. So there are definitely some scary parts of it, but also a lot of positives.
Right. And I guess a question for both of you is, how did BYU-Idaho help prepare you guys to just be better disciples out there in the world?
I think the little things like starting classes with prayer and the devotionals, and in some ways almost like being surrounded with people that all believe the same, and then being able to go out into the world. It was like we were able to strengthen each other. I had such great roommates and people surrounding me and teachers that helped me to stay focused on what was really important. And then as we left and, went to Connecticut and went other places where it was a little bit harder, I felt strong and confident and in who I was then and what I believed because of the foundation that I gained here.
I actually feel super blessed that I landed at BYU-Idaho at the time that I did. I think it was actually the perfect launching pad for me, that even if I had gone to BYU Provo, which I had thought about doing, and I, applied and got in after I'd been here a little while and I thought about switching. But BYU-Idaho, I feel like maybe at BYU Provo I would have gotten lost in the crowd of ambitious kids trying to go to these same law schools, whereas at BYU-Idaho I had a close relationship with my professors. I was able to get access to the tools, anything I would need to prepare for this. I got to do the IBC program, which is part of the business program where you start a little business on campus. And all of those things continue to affect my life today. You can be a smart lawyer. There's a lot of smart lawyers, but being able to deal with people and work with people is going to take you far in any career. And on that IBC, I was the president of our company or the CEO of our company or whatever it was called in that program. It taught me how to get consensus, how to get people around a vision, how to try to start something, how to take a little risk. And BYU-Idaho is the only place I know that has a program like that. And so I was telling others earlier that a couple of people have asked me just today, how did you get into Yale from BYU-I, as though that's weird. And it made me a little sad because my response is why wouldn't you be able to get into Yale law from BYU-Idaho? Why should we think of it as though that's a miracle of some kind? And it reminded me of a story that Nick Saban tells. He's the legendary Alabama football coach, to his football players when they start, which is that he was fishing with a guy from the South, and that guy was throwing back all the fishes that he caught that were over 6 inches long. And the guy said, "Why are you throwing those back?" And he said, "Because I only have a 6-inch frying pan." And Saban said to his football players, "Well, how big is your frying pan? Your possibilities are unlimited. Stop thinking of yourself as you can't do these things because they don't apply to you." Yale had a definite way of expanding my vision in that way, because at that school they act like there's no reason you shouldn't be the president of the U.S. We have 4 of them that have been here, so it does change your mindset. I think BYU-Idaho needs to feel the same way. You have all the tools at your disposal, plus you have the benefit of the gospel and the blessings that you get from God. So everything is open to you, and you have an amazing network of people out there doing things similar that you would want to do. And so I just think everything is possible from BYU-Idaho, and that's been my experience. On the discipleship side, I echo what Gretchen said. It's just so reinforcing. Everything in the gospel, we learned it today in the devotional, everything in the gospel is about other people, and it's not something that you try to live in isolation in a monastery somewhere or away from people out in the wilderness. The gospel is put into effect in your daily interactions, and nobody can do things reach their full potential alone. And so having people around you who have the same priorities, who are encouraging you to be good and to do good and to have a good life that's meaningful and important and spiritually aligned is super great. And BYU-Idaho provided that environment for me.
Yeah, that's great. And I guess just last, is there anything else that you would just want to share with the students of BYU-Idaho?
I guess something that I'm trying to tell myself is, and that I'm learning so that I would want to share this with someone, is to not listen to those self-doubting voices, and that Satan is the one that wants to bring you down and tell you that you're not good enough, and that you can't do those things. I look at Kirk, and he really does believe in himself, and that's why he is where he is. But I have a lot of self-doubt in my ability to do hard things and to do great things. And I know that's not coming from Heavenly Father. I think he sees who I really am and sees who you all are and sees our great potential and just wants us to realize it and wants us to see ourselves for who we really are and not tear ourselves down and say that I'm not smart enough and I'm not capable of doing that, because I think I definitely fall into that trap, especially just women who are having children and kind of are thinking of their role as lesser. And I know that's not true at all, that what we do is super important. And I'm grateful that I can support Kirk with the kids. And I just don't want any women out there to feel like they are less important, because being a mother and teaching and raising the next generation is, I think, more important than anything else we could be doing. So
I would say to the students at BYU-Idaho, what makes you weird is what makes you awesome. Like, take the bubble with you. I think we sometimes joke about the bubble here, but the bubble is what makes you special and makes you stand out and what makes you incredible. And as you go out, it's another way of reframing, I guess, let your light so shine. As you go out, people will tell you not to be so positive and not to be so happy, and that you should get on the internet and feel sad all day, and that's going to make the world better somehow if you express anger online all day instead of being happy. But the gospel is a reason to be happy. The world is a wonderful place. The world is becoming better in so many ways. If you read only the internet, you believe that everything's worse. But in reality, there's a million metrics that are only getting better. Life expectancy, health, reduction of poverty, all these different ways that the world is great. And so that's not to say there's no problems, but I don't think that only emphasizing those problems is the solution. And so BYU-Idaho is magical because it is happy and it is positive, and we can best influence the world by bringing that spirit out there. And so just boldly be happy.
Yeah, thank you so much. Kirk and Gretchen, I want to thank both of you for coming in today and for sharing all this with us.
Thank
you for having us.